coming up on OU Nightly. State Superintendent Ryan Walters asked Oklahoma State Legislature for millions of dollars to purchase Bibles for all Oklahoma classrooms. And new information on the deadly hit-and-run collision last week here in Norman. Plus, Hurricane Helene continues to intensify, how it may impact you if you're heading to the Auburn game this weekend. This is OU Nightly. Watching OU Nightly, I'm Abigail Franklin.
And I'm Brett Griggs. We begin tonight with developing news from State Superintendent Ryan Walters and the Department of Education.
Tonight we know Walters and the State Department of Education will be asking Oklahoma lawmakers for $3 million to purchase.
Is asking the state legislature for is in addition to the $3 million already being spent on the OSDE Bible Initiative. Now, the state superintendent says this would provide every classroom in the state with a Bible, saying this is about historical context, not to put one religion over another, and for its context in American history. On the other side of the aisle, State House Minority Leader Cindy Munson responded to Walters by saying, quote, "The state superintendent continues to abandon the needs of our public school districts to push for policies that do not benefit teachers, students, or families." Abigail Brooke, back to you.
A judge has made a decision in a legal battle with KFOR-TV and Superintendent Ryan Walters and his press secretary, Dan Isett. Reporters from News 4 say that staffers at the Education Department have not been allowing them in the main room to cover public meetings over the last several months. So they, along with Institution for Free Speech, filed a temporary restraining order against Walters and his staff. A federal judge has ruled that News 4 must be allowed into the main room for this week's State Board of Education meetings and press conferences. Reporters did attend today's monthly meeting. We reached out to the State Department of Education and Walters' office for a response, and we have not heard back.
Oklahoma death row inmate Emmanuel Littlejohn was executed this morning despite calls for clemency. Littlejohn was convicted of the 1992 murder of Kenneth T. Mears in a deadly convenience store robbery. The state parole board voted 3-2 in favor of clemency, but Governor Stitt did not grant it. His execution marks the fourth in the U.S. in less than a week.
There's new information tonight in a story we first brought to you last week about a motorcyclist killed in a hit-and-run crash. It happened on 12th Avenue Southeast here in Norman. And tonight we know police have released the name of the victim. He is identified as 46-year-old Sean Rivera. His family held services for him yesterday in Norman. Norman police say they have identified a suspect and charges are pending, but at this time no arrests have been made due to several investigation elements. All right, well, we're looking at the weather. All eyes are on the Gulf right now as Hurricane Helene moves ashore.
OU Nightly's meteorologist Rachel Mosshammer has a first look at the forecast for Helene and especially those traveling to the OU Auburn game this weekend. Rachel.
Yeah, Brooke, Abigail, Helene is projected to make landfall later on this evening. Now we're looking at our airport delays and surrounding airports around Auburn University, and right now we're not seeing any current delays, but that is subject to change as Helene makes its landfall in the coming hours. Looking at your headlines coming up, we'll see a quiet weather pattern here in Norman. We'll track Hurricane Helene and then a game day forecast for your second SEC game. Brooke, Abigail.
Thanks, Rachel. Congress has still not passed its farm bill, and Oklahoma farmers are not pleased. Gaylord News reporter Ireland Fitzer has the latest.
Often referred to as the backbone of America, ranchers supply the T-bone to American tables, a seemingly unending supply of beef to a hamburger and steak-consuming nation. There are around 700,000 cattle farms in the U.S., and Oklahoma makes up 7% of that number. Their numbers may be small, but cattlemen and farmers maintain an outsized voice in presidential politics. Ranchers like Oklahoman Rusty Daniel. And while the election is superseding the talk of D.C., there is still much to do at the Capitol for the upcoming year, including getting a farm bill passed.
November, December, then we have to do a one-year extension to keep all of the programs viable and functioning. ranchers and farmers want more than a president that will just listen. They want a new farm bill, and they want it passed now. And the farm bill contains a variety of programs that help keep food prices fair for both producers and consumers. But Congress is deadlocked on the matter.
As of this moment, the House Ag Committee has passed a draft out, but it's not had a chance to come to the floor. The Senate has not passed a farm bill out of committee or across the floor.
And even if a miracle happens and there is a farm bill compromise, rancher Rusty Daniel won't be happy with it.
Even the farm bill, even if it's authored by conservative people, is a little bit too handsy. I would just like for them just to let us, if we can't make it on our own, we don't need to be in business anyway.
But other farmers and ranchers want a bipartisan farm bill now. However, they're not optimistic that in a presidential election year, Congress will deliver for rural America. Reporting in Washington, Ireland Fitzer, Gaylord News.
Congress has until the end of session to pass the Farm Bill or file a one-year extension to keep programs running.
And the mayor of New York City is indicted on federal charges, and a government shutdown is avoided for now. Joan Hornak has today's national headlines from the News Center.
New York City Mayor Eric Adams is indicted on federal charges alleging he took illegal campaign contributions and bribes from foreign nationals. Adams, a former police captain, faces conspiracy, wire fraud, and bribery charges in the 5-count indictment. And Congress passes a temporary spending bill to avert a government shutdown less than a week before the deadline. The bill, approved by the House and Senate, funds the government until December. Included in the measure, $231 million in additional funding for the Secret Service. And the Biden administration announces $8 billion in military aid for the Ukraine. Ukrainian President Zelensky visited the White House today, where he presented a so-called victory plan. The plan is described as a response to growing war weariness. Zelensky's plan outlines an end to the war, which does not include land cessions to Russia. And the U.S. and its allies are calling for a 21-day ceasefire across the Israel-Lebanon border. Abby, Brooke.
All right, thanks, John. Hurricane Helene now a Category 3 as it barrels into the Florida panhandle.
An update on how Floridians are bracing for impact when we return.
Emma, did you hear?
Todd's in the hospital.
Who's Todd? He got a collapsed lung from vaping. He thought it was cool.
Not cool.
Promise you won't vape, Emma. It can lead to a lifelong addiction, and we can't be friends if your lungs collapse.
Bogus.
Wacky sitcom teens aren't the best people to talk to your kid about vaping.
Hey, you got a minute?
You are. Start the conversation with your child about vaping today.
Hear that? That's the sound of your life. Perfectly imperfect. But every time you drive after drinking, the music gets drowned out. Your life sounds pretty great. Don't let a buzz ruin it. Buzzed driving is drunk driving. Don't drive buzzed.
When we have the food we need, we are at our best. We push further. We rise higher. We unlock our full potential. When we have the food we need, we make our communities stronger. Together, we can help everyone get the food they need to thrive. Join the movement to end hunger at Feeding America.
Water is our most precious resource and something that should be conserved and used wisely. Water you use to rinse produce and use it to water houseplants. Also, soak your pots and pans instead of letting the water run while you scrape them. Water is life. This message was brought to you by the City of Norman.
Helene is now a major Category 3 hurricane, one of the largest storms to come out of the Gulf of Mexico in the last century.
It will soon make landfall in Florida's Panhandle. CNN's Michael Yoshida is there as state officials change their messaging from evacuate to shelter in place.
Every minute that goes by brings us closer to having conditions that are going to be simply too dangerous to navigate.
The National Weather Service is using another term, unsurvivable. When it comes to the storm surge, Helene is expected to unleash on parts of the Florida coast in the coming hours.
If it's 20 feet like they're saying, it's going to change the landscape in Franklin County, I can assure you that.
Franklin and Taylor counties are in Helene's expected landfall zone, but for much of Florida's Gulf Coast, mandatory evacuations have been in place since Wednesday, with state and local officials imploring residents leave while you can.
Some people have made decisions that they're going to hunker down, even though they were requested to leave.
Regardless of that, the governor says rescue crews are standing by.
If there's people that are going to be in distress, we're going to be there to be able to assist in those efforts.
Their message now, survival.
If you hear trees snapping around your home, treat it like a tornado. Get to an interior portion of your home, get as low as you can.
And silence, officials warn, doesn't mean safe.
What that actually means is you're in the eye of the hurricane. All right? Do not go out and survey damage.
An eye that could be up to 50 miles wide, with more catastrophic conditions less than an hour behind it. Helene is expected to roar up the southeastern U.S., with impacts felt as far north as D.C. in the days ahead. Right now, along with Florida, Georgia, the Carolinas, and Virginia are under a state of emergency.
There's one of the largest storms to come out of the Gulf of Mexico in the last century. Cat 3 means maximum sustained winds as high as 129 miles per hour. With even higher gusts, Helene will soon make a projected landfall near Apalacho in Florida's Panhandle. Michael Yoshida is in Steinauchi as state officials change their messaging from evacuate to shelter in place.
All right, open for business. Who has access to the newest venue on campus?
What you need to know when you're looking to get your game on.
Everyone has a ritual, that small thing that keeps us focused. A habit we never skip to clear our minds and elevate our performance.
But what do you do to keep your head in the game, to drown out the self-doubt and support your mental health? Because being your best isn't just about taking care of your body.
It's about taking care of your mind and mental health. Discover the resources you need to keep your mind focused and your mental health a priority.
Water is our most precious resource and something that should be conserved and used wisely. Here is a water conservation tip you can try. In the bathroom, if your shower can fill a 1-gallon bucket in less than 20 seconds, replace the shower head with a water-efficient one. They are cheap, easy to install, and can save you up to 750 gallons a month. Water is life. This message was brought to you by the City of Norman. Water is our most precious resource and something that should be conserved and used wisely. Here is a water conservation tip you can try. In the bathroom, turn off the water while you brush your teeth. You'll save about 4 gallons per minute. That comes out to about 200 gallons a week for a family of 4. Water is life. This message was brought to you by the City of Norman.
When I was in foster care, I never knew when I would have to move, so I always had my suitcase ready to go. Then one day, I was adopted. My new parents opened their hearts and home to me. My parents cook my favorite breakfast for me every morning. My parents take me on trips I never thought I would go on. They gave me a home and an even better reason to use that suitcase. My parents aren't perfect, but they're perfect for me.
Welcome back to OU Nightly. We are so glad to have you here on the first Thursday of the fall. We're taking a look at our Weather Center cam right now. Current conditions here in Norman. We are seeing clear skies, not a cloud in the sky. We're seeing those blue skies and our current temperatures at 82 degrees here in Norman. Looking at our current temperatures statewide, we're seeing 82 degrees in Oklahoma City, 82 degrees in Norman, 88 in Lawton, 88 in the Panhandle out in Guyman. So we are seeing those average temperatures here in the metro. So we're seeing about 83 degrees, 82 is usually what we see at this time in September. Looking at our lows for tonight, we'll be dipped down back into the 50s, so it'll feel a little bit more like fall here in the metro. 59 in Norman, 58 in Oklahoma City, 58 out in Lawton, and 50 out in Guyman. So we'll warm back up just a little bit tomorrow for our current temperatures. Highs Friday, we'll see 80 in Norman, 83 in Oklahoma City, 89 out in Lawton. Now, our temperatures for most of September have been a little bit on the above average side. We saw that nice heat wave that came through last week and even a record temperature on Thursday of 99 degrees. So then again, we'll see those average temperatures for this week, but luckily we had that rain earlier this weekend that left a nice hole in the drought here in Norman. But unfortunately, out in southwestern parts of the state, they are still feeling extreme effects of the drought. Looking at our allergy report, because we're seeing that drier weather latter half of the week and that warmer temperatures, we are seeing more allergies here in Norman. So to the nation, they're seeing Hurricane Helene that's projected to make landfall later on this evening with max winds sustained at 25 miles an hour. So it's a very strong storm. It's going to move on later on this evening. Our Auburn game on Saturday may see some travel effects from that as Hurricane Helene starts to make its way through the north. Hopefully by Saturday early morning, we'll see that Hurricane Helene be downgraded to a tropical depression. But then again, those travel impacts we'll see at Auburn. Right now, we aren't seeing any current delays, but that is subject to change as we go on later on to the week. Looking at your game day forecast, at tailgate, we'll see 74 degrees, 77 degrees at kickoff, and then 78 degrees at halftime. So we'll stay pretty consistent throughout the game. But then looking at our 7-day forecast here in Norman, we'll see mostly 80 degrees throughout the week. But again, not exactly sweater weather, but I will say I was able to wear a sweatshirt this week without getting overheated. So we're getting there.
I did too. I've been wearing long sleeves all week. Obviously, I'm wearing it right now because to me, it's a little chilly out there. So
it's just nice to think fall is coming. So why not? Exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, thank you, Rachel. And then one club on the OU campus is growing rapidly, giving more people a sense of community, whether you're from OU or not.
The OU Gaming Club has gone from almost entirely virtual to having their own venue at Cross Center. From computers to PlayStations and even VR, there's something for everyone. And by everyone, I do mean everyone. For only a small fee, you can get some playtime in here without even being an OU student.
The weekends, you know, we don't want to fully exclude the public, and we want to give them an opportunity.
They plan to come up with different ideas as well to get people out here to make friends and find their own community.
In the meantime, host so many events that students have a reason to be here all the time.
While the gaming venue is being used as both a social hangout spot for students during the week, as well as running events, it's being used by other students when they come in for college game days. And this isn't even the final form of the venue.
This entire space that you see behind me is hopefully getting redesigned and remodeled all next summer. As of right now, it's just a retrofit for a retail space.
While some may think the club has already come a long way and is nearing the end of rapid development, OU Gaming says they're not even halfway to realizing their dreams. I'm Hayden Fuller, OU Nightly.
And the OU Gaming venue is reserved for students on weekdays, but open to the public Saturday and Sundays.
All right, well, we're talking OU football. It's on the road for the first SEC road game ever.
Yeah, is there anything that Sooner fans should know before the game?
Yes, there is, Brooke. The Sooners have a new QB starting for them in their first road game in the SEC. And a few familiar faces may or may not be available. We'll tell you who coming up next in sports.
How do you know when you've made the right decision? It's the feeling you get in your gut. The one that tells you what's right or wrong. It's the one that says, sure, I can have a drink. Or the feeling that says, okay, I've been drinking. Now what? It's the voice inside you that says, I'm buzzed. Better leave the car when it's time to go. Plan ahead. Catch a sober ride. Buzz driving is drunk driving.
Water is our most precious resource and something that should be conserved and used wisely. Here are some water conservation tips you can try. In the kitchen, collect the excess water you use to rinse produce and use it to water houseplants. Also, soak your pots and pans instead of letting the water run while you scrape them. Water is life. This message was brought to you by the City of Norman. Did you know that trash, like plastic bottles and fast food wrappers, can carry germs and bacteria? When these items are tossed in the street, they eventually find their way to a river or lake and have a negative impact on aquatic life. Keep our waters clean by putting your trash in the bin. For more information, visit bit.ly/Norman Stormwater.
I'm Landon Thomas, and it's time for sports. The phrase strength in numbers originated from battles in ancient Greece, but OU football doesn't have that luxury this weekend for their first road test in the SEC. The SEC report lists a total of 7 Sooners to miss Saturday's game against Auburn, highlighted by wide receivers Nick Anderson, Jaleel Farouk, and Jaden Gibson. And another key contributor to the pass-catching core, Deion Burks, may also miss as he is listed as questionable for the Sooners' first road game as members of the SEC. However, quarterback Michael Hawkins Jr. won't just be making his first start, but will be only the second true freshman at OU to make their first start in a true road game ever. The last Sooner to do that was Troy Aikman, all the way back when Tetris was first created in 1984. Head coach Brent Venables has some wide words for what faces the freshman.
He hadn't been to that stadium, so you try to paint the picture, an adequate picture, and then you pump in the crowd noise and then tell him to focus on things that you can control and try to get him. If he's a strong-minded guy, he'll do that. You know, think about the process, think about managing things from the right way. Don't try to do too much and all those kind of things, and then let the players around you help you, and then the coaching staff help them as well.
And sub-Sooners aren't just known for their bronze. Kicker Zach Schmidt was named a semifinalist for the Campbell Trophy. The trophy is awarded for a combination of academics, community service, and on-field performance. He has maintained a 3.93 GPA. And Thunder basketball preseason is just less than 2 weeks away. The Oklahoma City Thunder are coming off their best regular season in the last 10 years. ESPN Bet made the Thunder their current favorites to come out of the West this year. Thunder General Manager Sam Presti says nothing is going to be handed to them, though.
No one knows what to expect. I just think it's possible, but it's also possible that we could have won 30 games last year if health didn't go the way that we hoped it would, or we had regression in some ways, or guys' development curves didn't go quite the way they were. It doesn't mean it can't happen, but it also doesn't mean it should happen.
Coming back to the college scene, OU volleyball is set to make their SEC debut tonight against the Florida Gators at home. The Sooners come into the match after a 3-set sweep against the Kansas State Wildcats on Sunday. The first set kicks off at 6 p.m. Brooke, Abigail.
Thanks, Landon. I'm looking forward to seeing those highlights from our volleyball team. Okay, still ahead. She is trending on social media.
Yes, you won't want to miss the cutest slippery hippo that's taking the world by storm.
There are a lot of temptations facing young people today, like electronic cigarettes and skateboarding. Each vape pod can contain the same amount of nicotine as a pack of cigarettes. This can lead today's youth to a lifelong addiction and severe lung damage. Recall and consider the facts before making a poor decision.
The Health Class Film Guy isn't the best person to talk to your kid about vaping.
Got a few minutes?
You are. Start the conversation with your child about vaping today.
I'm an ex-drug dealer, and I'll be your sub today. Two milligrams of fentanyl can be lethal. A lethal dose is in here. who gets it, I won't know.
It's cheap, it's potent, and it's profitable. The sad reality is fentanyl is being mixed into everything now.
More kids should know.
We said we'd never break the 3-second rule. Never do that. And never become a minivan mom.
Hey, Chris.
As parents, we say never a lot, but never happens. So when you say you'd never leave your child in a hot car, know it can happen. Before you leave the car, always stop, look, lock.
Emma, did you hear?
Todd's in the hospital.
Who's Todd? He got a collapsed lung from vaping. He thought it was cool.
Not cool.
Promise you won't vape, Emma. It can lead to a lifelong addiction, and we can't be friends if your lungs collapse.
Bogus.
Wacky sitcom teens aren't the best people to talk to your kid about vaping.
Hey, you got a minute?
You are. Start the conversation with your child about vaping today.
I'm Madison Dealey at the OU Nightly Update Desk. OG&E crews are on their way to Georgia to assist with Hurricane Helene recovery. A team of 100 linemen have been deployed to help restore power to areas hit by the hurricane. Crew members are expected to make it to Georgia Friday and stay there for up to 14 days. Abigail Brooke, back to you in the studio.
Thanks, Madison. Glad to see some Oklahomans are heading on down to help out. Well, we're taking a trip across the globe. 2 months ago, a zoo in Thailand welcomed a newborn hippo, but they never thought at 2 months old that she would become the newest superstar.
Say hello to Mooding, the internet's favorite animal. As you may have already seen her as a meme, her keeper is hard at work ensuring the world gets to see all her movements throughout the day.
She isn't the biggest fan of bath time, but with her mom by her side, she's enjoying her newfound fame. Okay, we're looking at one last check of the weather. I know we got game day coming up, all sorts of things, weather across Oklahoma. What can you tell us, Rachel?
Yeah, well, if you're starting, your trip from Norman to Auburn later on this weekend, you'll probably see those 80-degree temperatures this Saturday and Sunday. So we're staying a little bit on the warmer side of the averages, but that's pretty average for Oklahoma in September. So a little bit warm for the fall, but again, pretty pleasant for Oklahoma this time of year.
All right, thanks.
Yes. Hopefully that everybody driving down can make it down and they'll be all safe. It is really upsetting what's happening down there. So,
all right, thanks for watching, everyone.
We'll see you back here tomorrow live at 4:30. Have a good night.
Hate is loud. It gets clicks. It gets